At this point, we would now extend the privilege of the floor. If there's anyone who cares to address the council, if they could please go to the microphone and give your name and address.
My name is Joanne Patrick. I live on the corner of North Indiana and Columbia. I've been complaining for the last 3 weeks about the property at 1205, 1207 Columbia. I was told today that nothing can be done about the property. It's definitely a health hazard to everyone in the neighborhood. I don't know why nothing can be done. I'd just like to know what is going on and why nothing can be done.
The property in question is obviously something I'm sure the council is concerned about, and I know I had asked Mrs. Corvo to be prepared with a presentation. I think probably for the purposes of continuity, if we put that under the new business portion of the meeting, which would come after we do our resolutions, that might be best. So if you can stay around, we'll try to get all your answers this
I'll
evening.
be here.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I was told by Brian today that there's nothing, they've done all they could do, and nothing has been done. So on the phone, I talked to him about 1 o'clock this afternoon. He returned my phone call at 2, and that is what he told me. It's not properly being cleaned. There's a dumpster on ground level. There's windows on the first floor and second floor, which they are just sweeping this garbage into a trash can and throwing it out a window. I was told by someone today that everything that come out of that building was supposed to be in garbage bags and sealed, and nothing has been sealed that's come out of there.
You had told me earlier about the people working in there becoming ill?
Yeah, they're not experienced people. Probably every 10 minutes during the day, they walk out the front door throwing up and puking. We can't sit in our house and eat lunch or anything because we are listening to them and watching them puke all day long, and Mr. McQuain's been well aware of that for at least the last week.
Can you say a little bit about maybe how often or in what was the duration that you had called to make a complaint in regard to this property?
In the last 3 weeks, I've probably called 15 times. I've talked to Mr. McQuain myself a few times, which he told me a few times that the dumpster would be covered every night. Every night we look at this dumpster, which has stuff hanging over the edge. Tonight is the first night that it's been covered. But I've made many complaints. I don't know where I heard the lady from Code say no one has complained. That I have complained many times. And so is the lady that borders the property at 1207 Columbia. She's made many complaints.
I had a call. Mr. LaBeouf, I called Mr. Boxberger to the State Health Department because I was told that, when I called, and I didn't get any answer either about what about these people, if it is true that people in there are working in those type of conditions to the point where they're vomiting out on the front lawn. Because I thought we lived in a society where there's all sorts of workers' comp and all these other issues and everything like that. I'm sure they're not covered by it. But he said, well, no, we don't have any jurisdiction, but we'll be glad to go over and give an advisory look-see. He also said that the city council is the statutory health board and can instruct its health officer, this Dr. Kasulki, to go look at it. And he suggested I contact the Labor Department about the worker safety issues. Well, I work for a living, too, and I haven't got time to play phone tag at the state office building, so I had to leave it there. If that's going on, and I'm not saying it is because this is anecdotal, whether it's city government, state government, or whatever, if government's going to claim a legitimate right to protect people's health, safety, and welfare, and that's going on, there's something wrong. And whether it's, a failing over there, or failing here, or failing in Washington, who knows where, that shouldn't be happening. And I'm kind of disturbed with it. I suspect the other members are too. So where do we go from here? I think if somebody's that egregious, they should be cited.
Can our health officer require certain conditions in terms of people going in there and cleaning up and site conditions?
Well, certainly, if he thought it was an unhealthy situation, period, he could just shut it down. At that point, I guess we'd have to bring the appropriate proceedings and then require the owner of the property to follow state statutory guidelines, federal statutory guidelines for dealing with, I don't know whether it would be termed hazardous waste at that point or whatever. I don't know. Mr. Mayor, I understand your frustration, but you know, our code exists in terms of property maintenance. The code doesn't extend to what sort of suit do you wear when you go in, and what sort of face mask do you wear, and what sort of gloves you're supposed to wear. That's not a city code issue. You won't find any of those things in the city code. You know, our property maintenance code begins and ends with the requirement that a property owner remedy a defective condition. Right now, I understand the property owners, or the woman here this evening has been told there's nothing more we can do. Well, if the property owner is abating the nuisance, then that's what the goal of the statute is to abate the nuisance. Whether it's being done in a way that people like or don't like, we don't sit down with Mr. Wisner and tell him, now you must make sure that you comply with OSHA and you comply with whatever. I mean, he's the property owner. If someone's sick, you know, they make their appropriate complaints. I hate to beg out on it, but we're not the entity that governs that sort of thing. We're there because of a property maintenance issue. There have already been people there as a result of potential criminal complaints and potential animal cruelty issues that aren't city issues, other than that we have a police department. But I mean, you know,
But
city codes issues.
I understand that, but if I dump a barrel of oil on the ground,
Well,
we don't regulate such things per se.
that's correct. We would call the DEC.
Right. And I would suggest if there's those kind of working conditions readily apparent, and again, I'm saying this is anecdotal, I'm not saying it, I don't believe it or do believe it, I didn't see it, then I think, and candidly, the owner of the property is not Claude Frazier or something, he's a lawyer, he should know better. If that's going on, then I think there is some kind of obligation to refer it and look beyond to some agency. And if the state of New York isn't interested or doesn't care, then I guess...
Hopefully tomorrow, between Mr. Boxberger, who you have spoken with, and Dr. Kasulki, they can reach some sort of consensus on whether things are being done appropriately and make referrals if they don't think it is.